Today, I wanted to talk about my bike rack. I'm slowly becoming a true mountain biker, not just on the bike, but off as well. I've already had this truck for about 4 years now, and I finally got a proper bike rack about 4 months ago. So I wanted to share with you about this 1UP USA Super Duty bike rack and what I think so far. The first thing I want to talk about with this rack is what I feel like is the most important function that a bike rack should have, and that's bike security. And I don't mean just locking up your bike, I also mean how the bike is secured to the rack. I have to admit that the first time I had ever used a bike rack unsupervised, my logic didn't quite work out with the rack and I ended up dragging my bike behind Kyle's van. It also had a strap that would damage carbon rims if you did it too tight. So I feel like the 1UP rack doesn't leave room for error with my logic on how to secure it. You just put the bike on the tray and tighten the arms until it's tight on the tires. I also like that it only contacts the tires so I can avoid any damage to the rim. The second part of the security is they also have a bunch of different lock options. I really like the wheel locks because they are small, quick, and don't touch your bike. I have my bikes loaded up for you guys. I have the Timp Peak e-bike in the back, and then I have my LaSalle Peak in the front. And each tray on the Super Duty rack can hold from 50 to 75 pounds, so plenty good enough to run an e-bike in both trays if you choose to do so. And that is the main reason for getting the Super Duty rack, because gotta love the e-bikes as well. And as you can see, the only contact point on the bikes from the rack is here on the tires, which helps avoid any damage to the bikes from the rack. And I also have it locked for you here to show that it also doesn't contact anywhere. It's really helpful. I always keep the key on my keychain and I keep a bunch of locks in my doors, so anytime I stop to go get food after riding, I can lock them up quickly. If I feel like I'm in maybe a more dangerous area, I also throw on a chain, which they have too, and that's super cool. Another thing I like is how compact the rack is, mainly because I go to a gym that requires me to use a parking garage, and I feel confident backing up into the spaces since the rack is so slim and close to my truck. Now let's talk about the coolest part of this rack, which is how customizable it is. It allows you to upgrade at your own pace and change it up for trips if you need more or less compared to your everyday setup. You can customize it to fit from 1 to 4 bikes. They also have a lot of accessories to help you customize how you want your rack. I won't talk about them all, but on my rack, I chose to have the LED light, the easy pull lever added on, and for the future, I have my eye set on the pink and purple anodized levers. They also have replacement parts for the rack, and it looks like they have a replacement part for every piece. I love this because the consumerism world we live in now is filled with so many short-lived products, and I can already tell that the glide bars are getting the most abuse with this rack. But the fact that they're only $10 to replace makes me feel a lot better about not being as gentle when I move the arms. Let's take a closer look at this rack to show you just how easily it could be to replace the parts if needed. It also comes with this cool little Allen tool that you'll need for some of the bolts, including the one to attach to your hitch, and this easy pull bar as well. I always keep this in my truck to have it close to the rack, and so I hopefully don't ever lose it. Another big plus for me is I don't have to take this bike rack off if I want to ride my dirt bike. Because the trays are staggered, I can just lower the tailgate and it doesn't touch. So I can just leave it that way, load up my dirt bike. It even misses the ramp when I put it on, and that's super convenient. I do prefer to loosen the front arm before the rear arm just because it keeps it more stable. And the nice thing is I can do this on my own. Sometimes I use my head a little bit to balance the bike, especially if I'm not feeling super coordinated that day, but it's really easy. Another cool thing is if you don't like to lift a heavy bike off of the rack, they do make ramps to help you load and unload your bike without having to pick them up. So if you do ride an e-bike due to any type of disabilities, injuries, whatever, that's a really nice advantage to have. I look forward to this rack being a long-term staple in my mountain bike journey, and the cherry on top for me is that it was made in the USA. I hope this was helpful for you if you're looking for a new rack for yourself. Thanks for watching.